Trenchtown, Kingston, early October 1979. Bob Marley was visiting his old neighborhood, walking the streets where he'd grown up, when an elderly woman he'd never seen before grabbed his arm with surprising strength and pulled him into an alley. "They're going to use the one you trust most," she whispered urgently, her eyes wide with fear. "The one who knows all your secrets. The one you'd never suspect. He's already sold you out, Bob. Everything you've told him has gone to people who want you destroyed." Before Bob could ask who she was or how she knew this, the woman disappeared into the crowd, leaving Bob standing there with a racing heart and a terrible question. Which one? He had so many people in his inner circle. His band members, his childhood friends, his business partners, people he'd shared everything with for years. That night, Bob started paying attention to small things he'd ignored before. Whispered phone calls that ended when he entered rooms, meetings that people claimed never happened, money that went missing from accounts only a few people had access to, and most disturbing of all, information about his private life showing up in the hands of his enemies. Someone close to him was feeding them everything, but who and why? And was Bob already too late to stop whatever they had planned? Bob sat in his studio that night, thinking about everyone in his inner circle. His mind kept going back to the same few people. Marcus Thompson, his best friend since they were kids in Trenchtown, the guy who'd been there through everything. Every struggle, every victory, every dark moment. Marcus knew everything about Bob. His fears, his dreams, his secrets. If anyone could destroy him, it was Marcus, but that was impossible. Marcus had saved Bob's life twice. Once from a street fight when they were teenagers, once from a bad business deal that would have bankrupted him. Then there was Devin Clark, his lead guitarist. Devin had been with the Wailers for 5 years. Quiet guy, never caused problems. But lately, he'd been acting strange, taking long phone calls during breaks, disappearing for hours without explanation. And just last week, Bob had caught him in the office late at night going through financial documents. Devin's explanation had been simple. He was checking his own contract. But why at midnight? Why alone? And there was Patricia Morris, his business manager. She handled all his money, knew every deal, every contract, every secret account. If someone wanted to destroy Bob financially, Patricia could do it with a few phone calls. She had that much power, but she'd been loyal for 8 years, never given him a reason to doubt her. So why was Bob doubting her now? What was he really thinking? Bob realized the old woman's warning had poisoned his mind. Now he saw betrayal everywhere. The next morning, Bob decided to test Marcus. He made up a story. A fake secret that only Marcus would know. He told Marcus about a secret meeting with an American producer in Miami next Tuesday. Made it sound important, confidential. Asked Marcus not to tell anyone. Marcus promised he wouldn't say a word. If this fake story got back to his enemies, Bob would know for sure. Marcus was the traitor. 2 days later, Bob got his answer. A reporter called asking about the Miami meeting, wanted to know details about the deal. Bob's stomach dropped. Marcus had leaked it. His best friend, his brother, but Bob needed more proof. Needed to be absolutely certain before he confronted Marcus. That weekend, Marcus invited Bob to his house for dinner. Just the two of them. Bob almost said no, but he needed to look Marcus in the eye, see if his oldest friend was lying to him. They sat on Marcus's porch with red striped beers. Marcus broke the silence first. "You've been different lately. Distant. Like you don't trust me anymore." Bob kept his face neutral. "Why would you say that?" "Because I know you better than anyone. And I can see it in your eyes. You're looking at me different." Bob wanted to confront him right there, but he held back. "Not yet. Not without more proof. I'm just tired," Bob said. "Too much pressure." Marcus nodded. But his eyes said he didn't believe it. Bob left Marcus's house more confused than before. He still wasn't completely sure. The next week brought more problems. Bob's private rehearsal schedule leaked to the press. Reporters showed up at sessions that were supposed to be secret. Someone was also going through his mail. He could tell. Envelopes slightly open. Letters in the wrong order. Bob hired a private investigator, quietly, told no one. Simple job, follow Marcus. Document everything. 3 days later, the investigator called. Marcus had been meeting regularly with Vincent Harris. Bob knew that name. Vincent was a rival producer who'd been trying to steal Bob's artists for years. A man who'd publicly said he wanted to see Bob fail. The investigator had photos. Marcus and Vincent in a restaurant. Papers spread between them. Both men laughing. Bob stared at the photos. He could barely hold them steady. The betrayal was real, but he still didn't know why. That's what killed him. Why would Marcus do this? Then late one night, alone in his studio, Bob's phone rang. Close to midnight. He almost didn't answer. Bob Marley? The voice was distorted. Mechanical. Who is this? Someone who knows what's happening to you. Someone who knows about the betrayal. Bob gripped the phone tighter. What do you know? The person betraying you isn't doing it for money. It's personal. Something that happened a long time ago. Something you don't even remember. What are you talking about? 10 years ago, you made a choice. A business decision. It seemed small to you, but it destroyed someone's life, and now they want revenge. They've been planning this for years, getting close to you. Also, they could destroy you when the time was right. Bob's mind raced. 10 years ago? What decision? Who are you? How do you know this? Because I was hired to help, but I can't do it. Your music means too much. Trust no one, especially not the ones who seem most loyal. The line went dead. Bob sat there in the dark, shaking. 10 years ago, a business decision, someone's life destroyed. He forced himself to think back to 1969. What had happened that year? The Wailers had signed their first major deal. They'd turned down some offers, made hard choices about who to work with. Bob pulled out old notebooks, started going through contracts from that era, looking for anything that might explain this. Then he found it. September 1969. The Wailers had been offered a tour opening for an American soul band. Bob had turned it down. The money wasn't good. The terms weren't right. Seemed like a smart business move. But there'd been another band interested in that slot. A local Kingston group that desperately needed the exposure. Bob had even recommended them for the tour. Thought he was doing them a favor. But the promoters canceled everything after the Wailers pulled out. That other band never got their shot. They broke up 6 months later, disappeared. Could this be about that? Could someone from that band be seeking revenge? Bob looked up the old band members. 3 had died, 1 moved to England. But one name made his blood go cold: Michael Thompson, the band's lead singer, Marcus's older brother. Bob felt like he'd been punched. Michael had been talented, really talented. Some said better than Bob. But that band breaking up destroyed Michael. He'd turned to drugs, lost everything, died of an overdose in 1975, and Marcus had watched his brother fall apart, had blamed someone. But Bob never thought Marcus blamed him. They'd never talked about it. Marcus never brought it up, acted like it was just bad luck. But what if Marcus had been hiding his anger all these years? Planning revenge since 1975, getting close to Bob, earning his complete trust. Also, he could destroy Bob the same way Bob had destroyed Michael. Bob felt sick. His best friend, his brother, he needed to confront Marcus, needed to hear the truth from his mouth. Bob set up a meeting, called Marcus, said he needed to talk about something important. Could Marcus meet him at the studio tonight? Just them. Marcus agreed immediately. No hesitation, no suspicion. That night, Bob arrived early, set up a tape recorder hidden under the mixing desk. He needed Marcus to confess, needed it on tape. Marcus showed up on time, smiling, relaxed, carrying 2 red stripes like always. "So what's up?" Marcus asked, holding out a beer. Bob didn't take it. Couldn't pretend anymore. "I know," Bob said quietly. About you and Vincent Harris. About the meetings. Whatever you're planning." Marcus's smile faded. He just stared at Bob. Then he set down both beers and sighed. "How long have you known? Does it matter?" "I guess not." Marcus sat down. "You want to know why?" "Yeah, I want to know why my best friend has been selling me out." Marcus looked at him sadly. "Because you killed my brother, Bob." The words hung in the air between them. Bob felt his throat go tight. "Michael died of an overdose." "I didn't." "You destroyed his dreams," Marcus cut him off. "That tour in 1969, that was his shot. His one chance. And you took it." After that band broke up, Michael was never the same. Started using, started drinking, gave up on music, on life, and I watched him die slowly over 6 years. Every day I watched him die, and every day I saw you rising, getting famous, living the dream that should have been his. Bob shook his head. I didn't know turning down that tour would hurt them. I even recommended them after you already ruined it. Marcus stood up. His voice got louder. Don't you get it? You were so focused on your career, you never thought about who you were stepping on. Michael worshipped you, Bob. Wanted to be like you, and you crushed him without even noticing. Bob felt tears coming. So all these years, our friendship, it was all fake? Marcus went quiet. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. No, that's the twisted part. It wasn't all fake. I started getting close to you because I wanted revenge. Wanted to learn your secrets, find your weaknesses, destroy you the way you destroyed Michael. But somewhere along the way, you became my real friend, my brother, and I hated myself for it. Hated that I cared about you even though I was supposed to hate you. Bob sat down. His legs felt weak. So what now? You've been feeding my secrets to Vincent. What's the end game? Marcus pulled out a folder from his bag, laid it on the mixing desk. Vincent's been building a case, financial irregularities, contract violations, things that could destroy your reputation, get your music pulled from stores, maybe even get you arrested. All the information came from me, things you told me in private, documents I copied, conversations I recorded. Vincent's planning to go public next week. Press conference. Big scandal, it'll ruin you. Bob looked at the folder. His whole career, his life's work, about to be destroyed by the person he trusted most. Why are you telling me this? Because, Marcus's voice cracked. Because I can't do it. I thought I could. Thought the revenge would make me feel better, would honor Michael's memory. But it won't, it'll just make me like the people who destroyed him. The people who only care about themselves, about winning. And that's not who I want to be. That's not who Michael would want me to be. He pushed the folder toward Bob. Everything's in here. All the evidence Vincent has. All my recordings. My notes, take it. Use it to protect yourself. I'm done. I'm out. I'll disappear. You'll never have to see me again. Bob opened the folder. It was all there. Damning evidence. Most of it taken out of context or twisted. But enough to cause serious damage. With this folder, Bob could protect himself. Could even turn the tables on Vincent. Maybe sue him for conspiracy. But Bob was looking at Marcus. At his oldest friend. The guy who just confessed to a year-long betrayal but couldn't go through with it. What about Michael? Bob asked quietly. What would he really want? Marcus wiped his eyes. I don't know anymore. I thought I knew. Thought he'd want me to make you suffer. But maybe he'd just want me to let it go. Bob stood up, walked over to Marcus. They just looked at each other for a moment. Then Bob did something that surprised them both. He hugged Marcus. I'm sorry, Bob said. About Michael. About not seeing how much that tour meant to him. About being so focused on my own dreams that I didn't think about his. If I could go back and change it, I would. Marcus pulled away. Don't forgive me. I don't deserve it. I betrayed you. Yeah, you did, Bob agreed. And it's going to take me a long time to trust you again. Maybe never completely. But I understand why you did it. And I think Michael would understand why you stopped. Marcus shook his head. What happens now? Now you help me deal with Vincent. You tell him the deal's off, that you won't help him anymore. He'll come after you, Marcus warned. Let him try. With this folder, I've got everything I need to shut him down. Bob looked at the folder again. But Marcus, after this is over, I think you need to step back. Take some time. Figure out who you are without all this anger. I know. And maybe write about Michael. His music. His talent. Keep his memory alive in a better way. Marcus nodded. Tears were streaming down his face now. I'm so sorry, Bob, for everything. I know. Me too. The next week, Marcus met with Vincent. Told him the plan was off. That he wouldn't help anymore. Vincent didn't take it well. Bob was there, hidden in the next room, listening. He'd insisted on being there. Needed to hear it himself. You're making a mistake, Vincent said. His voice was cold. We had a deal, Marcus. I've already invested money in this, time, resources. I don't care, Marcus said. I'm out. Find someone else. There is no one else. You're the only one with access to everything. His schedules, his contracts, his secrets. Then I guess your plan is dead, Vincent laughed. Not a friendly laugh. You think you can just walk away? I have recordings of our conversations, Marcus. Proof you've been stealing information, breaching confidentiality. If Bob won't go down, you will. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. You'll never work in this business again. Might even face charges. Bob heard the threat clearly. Vincent was trying to trap Marcus, force him to continue. Marcus stayed quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised both Vincent and Bob. Go ahead, release the recordings. Tell everyone what I did. I deserve whatever comes, but you're not getting anything else from me. Bob knows everything now, and he's ready for whatever you try. Vincent's tone turned dangerous. Is he now? We'll see about that. The meeting ended badly. Vincent stormed out. Bob came out from the other room. Marcus looked exhausted. He's going to come after both of us now. Let him try, Bob said. But inside he was worried. Vincent was connected, powerful, he could do real damage. 3 days later, Vincent made his move. He called a press conference, announced he had evidence of financial fraud in Bob Marley's business operations. The media went crazy. Headlines everywhere. Bob's reputation was under attack, but Bob was ready. He'd spent those 3 days preparing with his lawyer, going through every piece of evidence in Marcus's folder. Bob held his own press conference the next day. Brought receipts, documents, proof that Vincent had been trying to manufacture a scandal. He showed the conspiracy, the manipulation. Even played a recording Marcus had made of Vincent explicitly talking about destroying Bob Marley. The media turned on Vincent. Questions started flying about his business practices, his ethics, his motives, but Vincent wasn't done. 2 weeks later, Bob was leaving his studio late at night when 3 men approached him in the parking lot. They weren't there to talk. Bob could tell from their body language, from the way they surrounded him. Vincent says hello, one of them said. His heart was pounding. He looked around. The parking lot was empty. No witnesses. No help. Then headlights cut through the darkness. A car pulled in fast. The door opened and Marcus jumped out. Get away from him, Marcus shouted. The 3 men turned. One of them laughed. Marcus Thompson. Vincent thought you might show up. He's got a message for you too. The situation was getting worse. 5 against 2. Bob and Marcus backed toward the studio door. But before things could escalate, police sirens filled the air. Red and blue lights flashed. The 3 men scattered, ran to their car and sped off. Bob looked at Marcus, breathing hard. Did you call the police? Yeah, I've been watching your back. Knew Vincent might try something like this. A police officer approached, took their statements. But the men were gone, no plates, no identification. After the police left, Bob and Marcus sat in the empty studio. Neither spoke for a while. Finally, Bob said, "You saved me tonight." "I owed you that much," Marcus replied. "You didn't owe me anything. You could have walked away. Let Vincent's guys do whatever they were going to do." "No, I couldn't." Marcus looked at him. "Because despite everything, despite the betrayal, you're still my brother." That didn't change. Bob felt something shift inside him. Not trust, not yet, but maybe the beginning of forgiveness. Real forgiveness. "Vincent's not going to stop," Bob said. "I know, so we need to end this, permanently." Over the next week, Bob and Marcus worked together, gathering evidence, building a case. Marcus knew all of Vincent's operations, his shady deals, his illegal activities. It felt strange working with Marcus again. Like old times, but different. There was tension, unspoken hurt, but also purpose. They found enough evidence to bury Vincent. Financial fraud, extortion, even connections to organized crime. Bob took everything to the authorities. Vincent was arrested 2 weeks later. The charges were serious. Vincent would be facing years in prison. His music empire collapsed overnight. Bob had won, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like survival. Marcus kept his word. He stepped back from Bob's inner circle, moved to the countryside, started teaching music to kids. For months they didn't speak. Bob needed space, needed time to process everything. But Marcus would send letters, not asking for forgiveness, just updates. Stories about the kids he was teaching, how music was healing him the way it once healed Michael. Bob kept the letters, didn't reply, but he read everyone. Then one day, 6 months after everything went down, Bob got a call. It was one of Marcus's students, a young girl, maybe 13, Mr. Marley. "I teacher Mr. Marcus, he's in the hospital. He had a heart attack. He keeps asking for you." Bob almost ignored it. Marcus had betrayed him. Why should Bob drop everything and rush to his side? But then he thought about Michael, about how holding on to anger had destroyed Marcus for years, had turned him into someone he wasn't. Bob didn't want to become that. Didn't want revenge and bitterness to define him. He drove to the hospital, found Marcus in a room looking older than he should, weaker. Marcus's eyes widened when Bob walked in. "You came?" "Yeah, I came." They sat in silence for a while. Machines beeping, nurses passing in the hallway. Finally, Marcus spoke. "I wrote something. For Michael, a song. About his talent. His dreams. The brother I lost, I want you to hear it. If you'll listen." Bob nodded. Marcus sang. His voice was weak, but the emotion was real. The song was beautiful, sad, honest. It wasn't about blame. It was about loss. About remembering someone not for how they died, but for how they lived. When Marcus finished, Bob had tears in his eyes. "Michael would have loved that. You think so?" "I know so. He'd be proud of you, Marcus, for choosing love over hate, for stopping when you could have destroyed me." Marcus wiped his eyes. "I'm sorry, Bob, for everything. I know saying it doesn't fix anything, but it's a start," Bob interrupted. "Maybe that's all we need right now. A start." Marcus recovered from the heart attack, started taking better care of himself. The anger that had consumed him for years seemed to fade. Bob and Marcus didn't become best friends again. That relationship was gone. But they built something new, something honest, based on truth instead of blind trust. They'd meet sometimes, have coffee, talk about music, about life, about the kids Marcus was teaching. It wasn't the same as before, but maybe it was better, more real. Years later, Bob wrote a song, never released it, never played it for anyone, kept the lyrics in a notebook. It was about betrayal, about friendship, about how the people closest to you can hurt you and save you at the same time. The old woman from Trenchtown never appeared again. Bob never found out who she was or how she knew. Maybe she was real. Maybe she was something else. A warning, a sign. Who knows? What Bob did know, trust is fragile. Once broken, it's never quite the same. But forgiveness is powerful. It doesn't erase the pain, doesn't make everything okay, but it lets you move forward. Marcus had betrayed him. That was true. But Marcus also chose love over revenge in the end, chose Bob over his anger. Bob never fully trusted anyone the same way again. Always kept a small part of himself guarded, but he also understood people better, understood they're complicated. They can be your enemy and your friend. Betrayal doesn't always mean the end. Sometimes it means a new beginning, a harder, more honest kind of relationship. In quiet moments when Bob played guitar alone, he'd think about Michael Thompson, the talented singer who never got his shot. Bob would play for him, for the dream that died, for the brother Marcus lost. He'd remember that every choice has consequences. Every decision affects someone. The music business wasn't just about music. It was about people, their dreams, their pain. And Bob Marley, the legend, was just a man who made mistakes, who hurt people without meaning to, who got betrayed and chose forgiveness, not the perfect hero, just a complicated human being trying to do right in a complicated world. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. If you love Bob Marley, leave a heart in the comments.